Next, we would like to move to the introduction of EM Showcase. FinCity Tokyo EMP Special Advisor Hidekazu Ishida. Please welcome him with an applause. Thank you very much. Can we have the cover page of the slide deck? My name is Ishida, EMP Special Advisor of FinCity Tokyo. So let me discuss the EMs who are selected. And those of you who would wish to access the list of emerging managers selected, please scan this QR code to access the slide. Next slide, please. So what is the selection process for the EM Showcase? How were these firms selected? I would like to explain. It was basically the same as last year, and EMs who were inaugurated, established in the second half of the other year. We followed up on some of them, and we also slightly adjusted the process. Venture capital funds were not thoroughly researched last year, so database and firms' website, we looked at them to conduct intense research. Asset owners who are investing in venture capital, we enlisted their cooperation. And we got referrals for many EMs, JIC, from TMG, Todai IPC, which is interested with FOF investment from Tokyo Metropolitan Government, and Incubate Fund of Funds and Grieve Ventures, which also invest in venture capital emerging managers. I received lots of help. I would like to express my gratitude taking this opportunity. And we emphasized the innovation of management, distinctiveness of their management. Even if their capital structure is not completely independent, even if there is investment by financial institutions, we decided to select them. But we also took care not to have the selection process if a company belonging to the selection committee was a candidate. We had a list of over 100 companies, as Mr. Nakasa said. We focused on distinctiveness and novelty, EMs that we thought were outstanding. We chose 25 companies and proposed them to the selection committee based on the opinions of the committee. One company withdrew, one more declined, and so this year's showcase is now down to 23 companies. So here's the list of showcase companies. Depending on the investment area, they're categorized into 3 groups. The microphone is not on. So the ones selected last year are shaded in gray. First of all, on the left-hand side, Japan Equity Active Investment Funds and Hedge Funds. In 2025, 5 were selected for FY25. Compared to 7 last year, a slight reduction in number, but with rising interest in Japanese equities, entrepreneurship is also becoming active. Japan Activation Capital got the most attention, collecting the largest amount of capital. So private equity buyout method was applied to a listed equity fund and growth capitalist who can have constructive dialogue with corporations to create the favorable cycle of investment and growth. So that's what they're trying to address from our point of view. And Nipponbashi Value Partners, fund managers who had track record in large fund management, became independent. So they are a typical startup investment fund. And overseas investors, because of their alignment of interest, they're looking for such fund managers, and I do hope that they will have access to both Japan and domestic investors. Catalyst Investment Advisors, JCI, and Nakano Asset Management. They're focusing on NISA, which is growing quite rapidly. It is a game-changing program for the industry. So these are startups in individual investment management business. Catalyst Investment Advisors was advisor to public investment fund Monex Activist Fund, and operates Japan's first investor participation type activist fund. Talking about activists, you would think that they are domiciled overseas, but they are utilizing a retail fund from within Japan, serving as an activist fund. So they are quite precious and rare. Nakano Asset Management, they're not relying on distributors. They appeal directly to retail investors. With that style, they're trying to bring about change in the way in which retail investors invest. And SBG Impact Japan, like Cadila last year, they're practicing impact investment. So that's the product they are providing to society. But as you can see from their name, they are involved with sustainability. They are conducting engagement with corporations with respect to sustainability. So they are practicing a new type of impact investment in that regard. Next, let me explain the middle column. There were only 3 that were selected last year. But this year, inclusive of the need for catch-up, we selected 16 companies. I don't have time to explain each and every one of them. Please have a look at their profile later. Overall, in various areas, those who experienced a startup investment, for example, in large venture capital or corporate venture capital, those who have had track records in those firms, or those who worked for government-affiliated institutions making huge investments. Those who have such track records and experiences are setting up early-stage venture capital funds. We're seeing many such examples. So Global Hands on VC, One Capital, Spark Capital are among such examples. Talking about venture capital fund, you may think of micro VC run by just one single person. We used to have such image or perception, but partners with different skill sets collaborate with each other to create a larger investment team. We are seeing such development. Mint and Dual Bridge as Capital, these are some of the examples of such investors. And specialization is also progressing. In the industry, we call it domain expertise. A D4V, a design for venture, specializes in design. And 15th Rock specializes in augmented reality. And K-Muri, or Future of Food Fund, they specialize in food tech. As with the case of leading venture capitals in Silicon, those who have experience of startup management are starting funds. So Animal Spirits are now Delight Ventures. These are among some of those examples. And we are also seeing emergences of venture capitals that specialize in impact investments. We have covered 2 companies, Glen Impact Capital, which was founded by 2 women. And there's this problem of Japanese IPOs being very small in size in terms of market capitalization. So extending the IPO period to grow startups, for that to happen, new financing methods are required. In this area, Minerva Growth stand out as a crossover fund that allows you to hold the invested companies, investees, even after the IPO. Regrowth uses a method called direct secondary. And it responds to the current problem by directly purchasing companies that need growth capital from existing VC funds. It can also buy time as well. And with respect to buyout funds, we ended up selecting zero buyout funds. As you know, the buyout market is growing steadily. Many funds, including emerging ones, are succeeding in raising funds from domestic and foreign investors. Marathon Capital, which was selected last year, has released a statement saying that it successfully launched its second fund. There was another fund that we were talking to, but they were able to raise funds more so than expected. They said that they would like to focus on their business, and so they withdrew from the process. And JEXI, Japan Extensive Infrastructure, is a fund that invests in domestic infrastructure. Going forward, because they handle assets that are fit for a long-term accumulation, I do believe that such startups will increase in number going forward. And overseas emission trading is offered by brick layers. It's category only as the others category. That's how it's categorized. So emission trading that's done in the state of California in the U.S. Is offered to domestic investors here in Japan. They're making profit out of it. And I believe that they will continue to accumulate know-how and track record. Next slide, please. Taking this opportunity, I wanted to respond to some of the frequently asked questions. I'll be very brief. So EM Showcase is not intended to make recommendations about sells and buys. We're not going to prioritize who's good, who's not. So please do understand that point. And evaluation is something to be done by asset owners. It's not for us to do. So why are we doing this then? I think entrepreneurship in investment management is a barometer of revitalization of the investment chain. And EM Showcase is not by any means a comprehensive list. Our list may not cover some of the emerging managers, but that's because of us. It has nothing to do with the capabilities of the funds that are not covered by our list. And lastly, talking about EMP, you may be thinking about affirmative action. It's oftentimes associated with that, but obviously that is not the case. Some emerging managers have had hard closes for their funds, and they only send invitations to a limited number of investors. And manager selection on the cutting edge of the Western market is now becoming a reality here in Japan. So that is where we are. So D&I policy, which is embraced by civil servants investment funds, that is not what we look at necessarily. So asset owner principle must be adhered to, and trying to exclude some of the emerging managers is not necessarily conducive to invigorating the EM market. Their origins and their supporters, their capital structure, we're not looking at them in terms of brand or based on brand. I think in light of the asset owner's principle, in view of fiduciary duty and due care, I think we need to look at their methodologies rather than the brands. Here's the list that follows, and you will be able to access this via our website. For some of the managers, we have invited them to speak, so please listen to what they have to say directly and establish contact with them directly if you're interested. In the interest of time, just a few words before I end. So 2 pages ago, I showed you a rather chaotic map with the cooperation of asset managers and the secretariat. We put together this slide. So if you can give us lots of likes, give us favorable comments, we'd appreciate it. This is a result of very hard effort. Thank you very much.